If you want to have a border, like for example, some like when Lee County has a drop shadow, would that border equals whatever that attribute is, whatever that style is, or would you do that differently?
Is in like creating a border around the image that has nothing to do with the link. You can. You would probably want to use CSS for that, which is some inline style, which is different than simply border equals. I don't know if it has kept up with Firefox 3, but if you apply a border to an image, it can only be black or blue if it's a link.
Sure.
There's no way to change it to another color unless you're using CSS, where you can get more creative with borders. And we'll get into CSS.
Do you?
Go ahead.
I understood it might not look exactly like you want it to, that's why you remove it, but is there a benefit to having the border to show it's a link? Just like in copy, you want it to be obvious?
It certainly makes it clear that it's clickable,
yeah.
And it sort of highlights it and draws the eye to it. It's just so rare you almost never see it on the web anymore. Border equals 0 is pretty much the default now. And there's one more issue here, which is we now have an underline between the image and the word jumped. Does anybody know where that came in here? This is a good example of how HTML comes about.
The space that's in between is giving you an underline.
Right. You're actually linking the space, and yeah. So you see how to do that. Put in a space there, please. So now you're linking just the image and not the space after it. So that goes away. That's something that happens all the time in HTML, and often you'll link a word and you'll wind up linking the punctuation after the word. It's just something to watch out for. Very precise typing. So moving on. Becky, you're next. Let's get into structural elements just a little bit here. You can create paragraphs when you want to separate text on the page. If you put a p tag that opens paragraph, and then you want to guess how you close the paragraph at the end? Yep. I can move you if you've got the mouse a little faster. Yep, type it.
I hate that keyboard.
So, at first, the p tags aren't going to do anything. It's going to look exactly the same as it did. But if we put in, excuse me, if we put in 3 paragraphs, it doesn't matter what the text is, but here we have 3 paragraphs, all with an open p and a closed p, then it will render them down the page as 3 separate paragraphs of text. The thing about HTML is that it doesn't really care how you space it out in the HTML here yourself. In fact, if you would please backspace up until these are on the same line with each other. Here we have 2 lines that are bumped up right next to each other on the same line. You can put the entire page of HTML if you want all on one line. It's still going to render this way. Just because if you put 2 lines, 2 sentences, if you don't use paragraph tags, if you just put 2 sentences, here's the first one, you put a couple of blank lines in your file, and then you type the second one, they're going to bump up next to each other on the same line. And so that's why you use paragraphs, to break them out and space them down the page like that. Let's say you want a break actually in the middle of the line for some reason, you want to jump to the next line. Do you know how to type that? So around here.
Is it BR, right?
Yep, BR tag. So in this case, we're breaking right after the word quick, jumping down to the next line. And the line is kind of tall because we still have an image in there. Probably should undo that. Especially if Jenny or Doug are going to walk by.
Yeah. I think they already did. Jenny walked by.
Oh, well, that's all right.
Does the VR have to have the close tag, like the image tag?
That's what I was going to come back to that in a second. That's all right. This is good. BR tag is like an image tag. It only has one instance because there's only one break. There's no end to this break later somewhere else. And so, do you remember what you have to add into that?
Space.
Slash. Exactly. That's what you put in breaks.
Oh, I accidentally typed something.
Oh, I typed. There you go. I was offering confusing directions, my fault. Sorry. So that's how you put in a break.
How is that different though?
How is it different from using paragraph?
No, why do you have to put that?
Yeah. If
it's
it
like
already
extra.
did it.
I'm sorry? I don't.
No, it's
It's like for
Can you
standards.
go? Can you go back to the thing,
Sure.
please? If you already did
Yeah, you
the
don't have to make it work.
bracket, brace bracket, then why do you have to put the slash in?
In properly formed HTML, every tag has to have a slash in it at some point. Most HTML tags are pairs. There's like a bookend, like the open and then the close. When you have a singular tag, it's supposed to have the bracket still within the singular tag. Image, break, form input, those are the only three that really have this problem. So it's not something, and HR tag, which I would do in a second. It's very, very rare that you have to deal with
It's
it.
like the one thing I thought I knew, and I don't know now.
No.
I was
mean,
just
you can
using
type.
a bracket, BR bracket.
You can. We did that originally. Bracket, BR bracket will work by itself. It's just not proper HTML to be formatted that way.
You
That's
have
all.
to go into the code.
Right.
Yeah.
Increasingly, browsers are not working the old way. That's why to learn the proper standards.
Oops.
One other one that you can use is a horizontal rule, which is HR instead of BR. Anybody know what this does?
Give you a line.
Actually puts a line across the page and breaks up the page a bit. You can apply styles to the HR tag.
So do the line different.
You can color them red. You can pretty much any style that you can apply to text, you can apply to an HR tag.
That, right?
Yes.
Do it that way. How you do that?
Off the top of my head, let's see if I've got it right. Style equals.
What?
Style equals.
Okay.
That. No.
Is it dotted? Let's
I
try.
don't know. I know that part to the stupid.
I don't
Dreamweaver,
create
which
dotted
is
lines,
easy.
so I don't have much need for them, so I don't know this one off the top of my head. Sorry.
Let me see.
No.
No, it's not.
Let's try color colon red.
Right.
What's it
Colon.
Colon.
Colon and then red.
Sky blue. That won't listen, right?
That one works. That's a nice way to break up the thing. You can also make width equals, let's say 300.
Anything in here, space.
Yeah, just a space. Width equals 400.
Do I do?
Quotation marks, always quotation marks.
Hmm.
And that is 400 pixels. Now there's a difference between when you're specifying the pixel size of text that you have to use px, and that's because it's CSS at that point that you're typing. It's a technical thing. In this case, when you're just doing HTML width and height attributes, that's not CSS, and you don't have to apply px. If you're ever confused, try it both ways. It's only going to work one way. So.
That one again.
But now you have a horizontal rule that is only 400 pixels across instead of the entire screen. And you can make it a percentage. You can say width equals 80%. And that way, when you have browsers that are sized to the window, that'll stretch.
How do you change the height of the line?
Height equals,
Okay.
same thing.
So it automatically centers it when you change the width of it.
If you want it to be centered to the left, let's say, a line equals left.
You
Space.
can do a line.
A-L-I-G-N.
It's the same with images, right?
Equals what?
Left.
You
And
need to put
quotation
left
marks.
because it's pretending to be
Here?
It's a trick. It's a World Wide Web.
So now it's left instead of the center of the screen. You can do the same thing with an image if you want the image to be aligned. And again, the attributes can go in any order you want to. So let's put it as the front here. Align equals left.
Oh, and then you put the source. Is it an order how you need to put it or not?
No, doesn't matter what order, as long as they're all there.
Inside.
So in this case, the image is actually going to go to the left. And the text will wrap around it. So if it's very convenient when you're creating something with a lot of text to put an image. Usually a line equals right on the image. It'll push the image to the right side of the screen, and all the text will just wrap around the image very nicely. It only really becomes a problem if you have a lot of images and they start to stack up on top of each other on the right side.